Hello, everyone. Welcome to Amplify Your Authority, the assessment where I am here to walk you through how to elevate your voice, expand your reach, and lead with impact. All right. So we're going to go through a proven framework that I have. So if you download the assessment, you will have the brief version. And what you will see on the screen today is the full out version. Now, this is not me gatekeeping, but I saved a lot of the deeper dive parts if you want to come with me for upcoming work with me in upcoming workshops or events, because I just don't want to give you a ton of things and you're just out there by yourself. But if you downloaded the assessment brief, you have a lot to go on to get yourself started with whether you want to continue working with me or not. So I still want to walk you through this training so you will have the information you need to move forward. So amplify your authority. You probably heard the brief video version or the introduction if you download this assessment. If not, just very quickly, I came up with this assessment after trial and error first, in my professional life and in my entrepreneurial journey. And I shared that I had to get back to the rivers and lakes that I was used to. So a lot of this comes from my experiences and training from being a college professor. And so the foundation of this framework is really being like a practical professor-ish and building your whole ecosystem using your digital e-suite, and we'll get more into that. So another reason why I wanted us to deep dive into this is because I really want you to redefine your authority beyond just coaching and consulting. And I'll give you more examples as we go later on down into the training. But I've noticed in the advice industry, so many people are saying, share your expertise and become a coach, or become a consultant, but it's really about being a coach. And I'm gonna be honest with you, everyone does not need to be a coach. Or if you do, you may not need to be a coach on your own. You may need to join, a team or a company and be a coach that way, because it is very different to be able to lead a coaching business as the main person, right? And I tailor this to even when people went to the education space, everybody was like, well, just go be a teacher, those who can't teach. And that's not true. And there are different levels of teaching, just like there are different levels of being a professor. I'll do another training on that. But just because you have education expertise and experiences doesn't always mean you need to coach or consult someone, right? And if you truly want to coach, I see a lot of people saying they want to be transformational coaches, then there's a lot of work for you to do on yourself and then with your clients. You need some kind of structure and framework. Now, this training matters because I wanted people to not just jump out and say, I want to be a coach and start my own business, or I want to go be a consultant and start my own business, or I want to do my own thing and start my business. I learned this from Dan Locke. It's the thing around the thing, right? And my focus is around the thing. What are the things that you need to have in place, whether you want to start your business today, tomorrow, in the future, or if you want to advance your career? What are those things that you need? And bottom line, whether you want to be in front of the camera or off the camera, you're going to have to learn how to amplify your authority. And you need to do that in 5 different areas, which I have done trial and error through. And I was doing this anyway when I was a K-12 teacher and as a college professor. And had I known how this worked, I would have been a lot further along, saved myself a lot of time, money, and energy and frustration, right? But it's okay. That's why I'm here with you. So welcome once again to Amplify Your Authority, how to elevate your voice, expand your reach, and lead with impact. So like I said before, being an authority figure is more than just having expertise, and it's more than just your degrees. It's more than your titles and your position, your actual position, like the role. It is more about how you position yourself for people to see you. It is about how are you able to stand out in the crowd, voice your opinion, stand on something, stand for something, and lead with your own thoughts and opinions and ideas, and express them in a manner that bring people to you, and that is also compelling. If you see me looking down, you all already know I have my notes here. And it's really about providing value. Now, I know that word value can seem like it's usually used, what I'm trying to say, is widely used or loosely used. That's what I wanted to say. And people are like, well, just provide value. But what is value? Value is, can I get some information and actually apply it to my life right then and there, or in the near future, that changes my perspective, changes the way I show up, changes the behavior. And I'm like, okay, that was good. So that's an example of value. So you just can't say the word value and value magically appears. And it's also about, what are you sharing with people that will leave a lasting impact on others. So that is part of amplifying your authority and positioning yourself. So it's more than just having logos and colors and putting on certain clothes and things like that. It's really an inside out game in how you show up. All right, so we're going to get into this now. The presentation that I have here is just a copy of the full assessment. I won't go through every part of the assessment, but I wanted to give you a visual of what to expect. So okay, we'll do it. Okay. So when you get the assessment, if you have the brief version, you will see some of these different things. The only thing that you will not have is the deep dive into the persona insights. I'll touch on those in the training. But if you register for an upcoming workshop or an event with me, then we'll take a deeper dive into those. And again, this is not like I'm gatekeeping. This is just so that you don't get overwhelmed with the information, because the assessment itself is detailed enough. And if you've already downloaded it, you can already see that it is packed with some useful information and tips, So don't feel like you're left out. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is, like I have here, whether you're looking to transition into entrepreneurship, expand your impact as a thought leader, monetize your expertise effectively, or gain confidence in building scalable systems, then this assessment is for you. But you do need to have a shift in your perspective, a mindset. And I know a lot of people talk about, mindset. There are people saying that they're mindset coaches. And I even talk about mindset. I do have I'll say like a specialty in help people with mindset, but it's not just thinking positive thoughts. It's literally how you are looking at something, a situation, your perspective, setting your mind, setting your intention on that, and allowing your actions and behaviors to follow that no matter what. So there are a lot of things that you need to uncover in your mind that's blocking you from where you want to go. And then so once you get that vision, you set your mind, you set your intention to move towards that direction no matter what. So that is mindset, right? And the reason why mindset is important for you to amplify your authority, because it's all well and good if you're in your comfort zone. Even if you are the CEO of a company, a VP of whatever, owning your own business, anytime you're trying to go to another level, it is going to require another level of authority from you. And if you are envisioning yourself to another level, but you're not quite there yet, there's something that's going on in between, the 6 inches between your ears. There's something in your mind that is blocking you from either going to that next level, whether you think you're enough. We'll go into that, but it's really not about you starting from the bottom, right? You can have all of the degrees, titles, positions, accolades, everything, but everyone still needs a tweak in their mindset to go higher, because if everything was clear, you would have already been at that level. And that's the entire part about personal leadership or personal mastery, is if you're still trying to progress and go higher, then there's something that you need to start thinking about and doing and work on internally before things are expressed outwardly. All right, so in the framework, in the assessment, I tell you how to go through everything and give you some detailed instructions, because I don't just want you to just check things off. I actually want you to read through and answer the questions accordingly. And so this is this is the framework. Okay, it's a little delayed here, but that's okay. This is why this is a training. Oh, let me go back. It was all the way back here. So the framework that I want to talk to you about, if you watch the intro video, is called STEAM, which is an acronym. And it's a play off on when I was in the education system for science, technology, engineering. They added arts in there and mathematics. So I originally started this with skill, time, energy, ambition, and money, right? And I was like, something is not quite there. How does this relate to amplifying your authority? So I came up with skill station, and I know it may not be a word, but I needed another Sean at the end. So skill station, transformation, expansion, ambition, and monetization. All of those are going to require different levels of mind shifting work and different levels of practical, tangible work for you to get the results to amplify your authority. And this is all about your digital e-suite. And your digital 3E suite is your education, experience, and expertise. So you can focus on one or all of them when it relates to your authority. And just know, like, whenever you're stepping into a higher version of yourself, you're bringing all of that with you. You're bringing your education, your expertise, and experiences. And I don't care if you're going into a completely new area. Like for me, it's like I've been drawn to learning more about business and business development, even though I don't have a degree in business development. But everything that I've learned from my traditional training and the informal training, I can use that to help even more people understand what business actually is. All right, so skill set. And to understand what skill sets are, I focus on 5 of them, but there are so many different skill sets. And I believe each and every one of you, if you are aspiring to be a thought leader or a thinkfluencer, which is an influential thought leader, or whether you're stepping out on your own or being inside your business and being not your business, your company or career and being that linchpin person, you still need to up level your skill sets. And the skill set that I believe you need to focus on are writing, speaking, like video production or broadcasting, teaching and facilitation, which can also include coaching, and then systematizing, which is understanding business systems on the back end and then understanding how to create systems in your life, in your career. So those are some skill sets. Other skill sets, it could be copywriting, it could be sales, it could be closing, any type of skill set. But these are the skill sets I focus on when it's time to amplify your authority and build your digital 3E suite. But you can insert any other skill there. And no matter what the skill is, you're still going to have to do some work to learn something. So don't let, all the degrees that you have or the accolades that you have or the experiences that you have keep you from fine tuning and honing in on your skills. The other part is transformation. And this is the inside out. A lot of people don't like to talk about transformation. There is something in the advice industry, really, especially in entrepreneurship, when people say sell them what they want and then give them what they need. And I do understand that, because a lot of us are not looking for the cough medicine. We want, to go get everything that makes us feel good, right? But I'm just going to tell you the straight up truth that a lot of people are not telling you, or they only tell you once you get into their programs. I'm just going to save some mystery for you. There's a lot of inner work that you need to do, especially if you're going to amplify your authority. With all the skills that I talked about, you're going to have to do something internally, unhook yourself from things, work through your limiting or outdated beliefs in order to go to the next level, break through certain barriers. There's no way. And I've been in high level mastermind groups. I've been in, smaller, accountability groups. I've worked with some really high level people, and every time they all say the same thing. What is going on in your mind that is keeping you from implementing and doing what you need to do? Because a lot of times it may not even be an actual skill set issue, right? That's the easy thing to fix. But a lot of you have skills that you could use, but it's what's happening internally. So the transformation, and it's not the woo-woo transformation. It doesn't require you to go all the way back to childhood, and get on the couch. And if it does, just go get therapy. It's okay. But for a lot of us, it really doesn't require that. You just need to acknowledge something and work through that. So that's what transformation is. And when you understand true transformation, you will begin to amplify your authority. The same with expansion. When we're talking about expansion, this means really blowing up your vision and expanding your network, your circle, your influence, your impact, your income, really a higher version of yourself, whatever you're envisioning, really thinking about what's possible and then going after that. So expansion is literally, and is abstract, things that you can expand around you: life, career, business, family. There are about 18 areas of your life that I've uncovered and I talk about. So think about that in terms of being expansive. And then ambition. Ambition is really what it sounds like. A lot of you are playing too small. A lot of you are setting your goals too small. Your ideas are too small, or maybe you've had something on your vision board and you're like, it didn't come to pass yet, so maybe it's not for me. But guess what? Maybe it's too small for you, and maybe it's time for you to go after something bigger with more focus. If you're using this framework to amplify your authority, you'll be able to figure out your gaps, and that way you're probably not getting what you want because you're too bogged down into the weeds looking at the small things, or you're thinking too small. So go dream as big as possible. This is where you do be delulu in a sense and get things on and popping, because you need to send those signals to your brain that you can dream more, dream bigger, and that leads into expansion, that leads into transformation, then that leads into skill station as well. And then the last one is monetization. And now I'm not talking about monetization like you've seen out here, make your first 6 figures in 6 days, or build your 7 figure career, your 7 figure business from a 7 figure coach, and things like that. Those are great. Those are great testimonials. Those, people have done that. I've seen people do that with the results. But this is really about the money mindset blocks that you may have encountered. And I know this for myself. All of this I'm talking about is from personal experience and from doing research with clients over the years, and doing case studies on these high level mastermind groups that I've been in. And so it's really not about, can you make the money? Because technically business is quote unquote easy. Generating money is quote unquote easy, right? You can sell something, you make money. You get in front of some people, say, I have a problem or a pleasure thing for you to, I can solve it, or, take away your pain or give you pleasure. People will give you money. If you got, braid hair on the side, cut hair on the side, you can easily get money that way. So it's not really about the generating the money. It is what is in the mindset, and that goes back into transformation. But it's really about understanding your beliefs about money and what's keeping you from either charging what you need to charge for your services, or even going for your career, negotiating. I've seen so many people undercut themselves going into their next positioning their careers, because it is a money mindset thing. They're not asking for their skill set worth and things like that. So whether you're starting your business or being an entrepreneur or going up into your next career level, you need to understand monetization from that standpoint versus how can I get more clients to make more money, because that's not it. You have to literally unhook yourself from the money in order for the money to come. And that is true financial freedom. Now, with all of these, you do need to embrace a growth mindset. And I know you hear that if you've been in anything, education or personal development, you hear growth mindset or fixed mindset. And I've said this before, I believe so many people say growth mindset until they actually have to apply a growth mindset. So in all of these areas, especially when you take the assessment, you'll read some questions that are like, wait, what? That doesn't sound like it should make sense. Or you may have to confront some things, like you thought you were one way until you read something and your initial response was something else. Then be open to that. That's what it means to have a growth mindset and not be so stuck in your ways. And believe it or not, many people are stuck in their ways and they don't want to admit it. So another thing that I want to talk about as we keep going. So these are some of the questions here. And I won't go through all of them, but each one of those areas, the categories, there are 10 questions, and it's on the Likert scale, so you can rate yourself, because this is an assessment. Not an assessment where you get an A, B, C, D, or F, but you need to be honest with yourself and give yourself an actual score, because at the end of the brief assessment, it'll tell you where you are in some next steps. And then if you choose to take a deeper dive with me, then we go into what those numbers really mean about your persona, how you show up, and then we can start crafting a plan for you to move forward. All right, so again, all 5 categories, there are different questions for you to respond to, and make sure that you actually tally up your score. And then I go into what does it mean at each level. So when you take the assessment, you're going to look at it by category, and then you're going to look at your overall score. You'll see different levels, whether it's exceptional, strong foundation, moderate progress, or needs attention. So let me just give you a little backstory. Now, I am an educator, through and through. So when I was out here working through my business, I didn't do so much with assessments. I'm like, that's what I do. If I want to know that the people that I work with are obtaining results, then I need to give them assessments. Where were you before? Where do you need to go? And then let's have something tangible in place. What the original foundation of the STEAM framework, or the Amplify Your Authority, wasn't that back then, was in 2020, and I've shared this before, is when I went to Singapore and on something else with my university, and I came across a gentleman. We were in a cooking class because I went to Singapore to create an experience for my students to study abroad. So I went there first and all of that. I met this guy and he asked me what I was doing and how I was able to travel on the university dime at that. And so I laid out some things for him. I had just started doing things, being my consulting business on the side. But even as a college professor, there were certain things that we did where we still had to go speak. We still had to write. We still consulted. We just did more. We did a lot of things outside of being just in the classroom. And he was a lawyer from Texas, and he had just retired, and he was like, I want to do something. I don't know if I want to start my own law practice or anything like that, but I just want to do something. So I told him about teaching. I told him about, different writing things. I gave him like 4 areas. I called it an infopreneur at the time. Now, I didn't come up with infopreneur, but I shared that with him because I was fascinated with the word infopreneur. I'm like, you have this wealth of knowledge, and you can put your expertise and your experiences and your education into these buckets. And then, I wasn't really talking about, make more money, but I was like, you can have more impact. You don't just have to sit and be in the law office, or you don't have to run be the person running the practice. There are so many things that you can do. And you know what? I didn't capitalize on that opportunity. And so it's just been with me and sitting with me all this time. Like, had I really owned the power and owned what God was telling me to do, what could I have done with that gentleman? He was older than I was, but he was so intrigued by what I was saying. But I had some limiting and outdated beliefs in my mind to where, like, oh, well, I don't know if I can really help him. And we just continued our cooking class and went on with that. And he had an authority in him that needed to be amplified. Now, hopefully, he's done that with someone else, but that will always stay with me, is because I didn't amplify my own authority and to share. Even before I even had the assessment, I still had enough to get started to help him, right? And that's where a lot of you may be. You don't have to have this whole elaborate thing, because that's what, if you've been traditionally educated or traditionally trained, that's been ingrained in us, right? Where we have to have all these things out here put in place so we don't look crazy out here in these streets, right? And then that keeps us from moving forward. But you have enough under your belt now to get ready to get started. And that's where this assessment came from, is so you can know what do you actually have and what do you need to work on, and see if you can start now. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are at a strong foundation to get started, but it doesn't feel like it. So my part of this assessment is to ground all that in for you. And I always think, I'm going to call him John. I can't remember if his name was John, but I'm always going to have John in my head. So this is my way of how I would have supported John if given the opportunity, right? So I talked about, so these are your overall scores. It's just more steps on how to do certain things. So these are the personas. You don't have this if you downloaded the brief, but we do take a deeper dive into this if you attend some additional workshops or events that I have coming up. We have the legacy trailblazer, the strategic expander, the emerging visionary architect, the transformational pioneer, and then starting at ground zero. And there are people who may be starting at ground zero where you can't check anything off, and that's okay. But it's important for you to know that, so you don't, and then use the assessment as a roadmap so you don't think that this is not meant for you. There's just some foundational things that you need to do. So just going back when we're talking about skills, And I'm not going to go all the way back to the diagram, but when we're talking about skills, this is really about what makes you unique. Now, yes, everyone can have the same set of skills, but there's still something on how you approach it, on what makes you unique. Same when I was defending my dissertation, there was some I used a conceptual framework that was widely known and widely used in mathematics, but because of my perspective and how I used that framework, my skills that I brought to the table with that conceptual framework, it positioned me in a unique space, and it made me an authority on that instrument that I created and on that topics. And you have the same thing. But transformation is talking about turning your experience, your expertise into influence. So what if you know a bunch of stuff, right? So what if you have all the titles and credentials, but if you don't have anyone following you, and I'm not talking about following on social media, but if you don't have a presence where people say, you know what, I like to learn more about what you say, or I was thinking about something else, but because I heard you, I shifted my perspective on that. And this could work whether you're in your career or your business or any other area of your life, right? So your transformation should shine so bright that it calls people to be influenced by you, to want to know more about you, to make you think, right? So you want to do your inner work, because if you just are full of knowledge and no transformation, you're like this empty vessel and you're just saying a bunch of noise. And if people are quote unquote following you, and if you are in a position of authority, they're just being compliant, right? They're not being influenced, they're just being compliant so they can just do what they need to do to get by, and that's not what you want. Now, expansion again is building your own ecosystem. I heard this before, so I put it together where I started off saying ecopreneur, and I was like, okay, we're not gonna go too far, but building your own economy and creating your own ecosystem. There are a lot of people in entrepreneurship, and it ties into monetization, but really into expansion, where there are people. We all know what happened in 2020, and then what's happening, in this time now, in the recession, whatever the case may be. I heard a lot of people say, "I'm not participating in the recession," or "I go with the tune of my own financial economy," and I was like, "What?" I don't get that. And the more I understood about what it meant to generate wealth, generate income, really what business actually is, you do create your own economy, your own ecosystem, your own way of bringing in money, having different streams of income, having things around. But it takes an expansive mind to understand that beyond just having your job. Even if you have a quote unquote side hustle, you can still expand that, because that's still not enough. And it's not about just getting money for the sake of just taking care of you and yours, right? When you have this expansive vision for yourself and it goes into ambition, you start thinking beyond your family and even your community, and you start thinking worldwide. And then when you have that bigger vision, that expanded vision, your ambition kicks in on how can you serve and help more people and leave a true legacy impact behind. And then ambition, again, is setting bigger goals, setting bigger intentions, having something that outlives you. You may have heard this, but I think Elon Musk has, for, I don't know if it was SpaceX, that he has 100-year business plan. I believe it's Elon. If not, it's one of those guys have 100-year business plan. A lot of us struggle with trying to get 10 years down, 5 years down, 3 years down. Can you imagine having 100-year plan, even when you're at 40, 50, 60, but still are expansive enough and ambitious enough to think that far beyond you? That is what this assessment does. This is the foundation of that assessment, because if you did not know, my mission is to bankrupt 1 billion burial plots. And that means helping brilliant people live a life poured out above ground before all of that genius goes underneath. And that goes with expansion and ambition. And similar to, can you create 100-year plan for your life, even if you're not around to see it? And then monetization, I touched on this, was diversifying your income streams. And not so much just for you to have to go hustle and work in all of them, but a way of creating things that will draw money to you, right? We'll get into some different areas about that, but this is more than just getting clients. And I hear that so much in the advice industry. It was like, well, get your next clients or go get your high ticket offer, this, that, and the other. But like I said in the beginning, all of you may not need to be coaches and consultants going after that type of high ticket offer. It may be taking your education, expertise, and experiences in a totally different direction. But if you're not having an expansive vision, or you're not ambitious with your goal, or if you're not understanding monetization in a different way, you're going to be locked into something and you're going to be fighting an uphill battle, right? So going back into the framework and talking about skills and building your foundation, here are some things that I want to talk about. Going deeper dive into what it means. Yeah, let's go deeper dive into that, and then I'm going to go into what else you can do besides just being a coach or a consultant. So skills is building your foundation. And I talked to you about, you know what, actually, let me just go into that because I think we touched on that more. So like I said, going into turning your building your own ecosystem and diversifying your authority. And so when I say amplify, I also want you to think about diversifying your authority beyond just a coach or a consultant. No matter what you do, especially if you are wanting to be a thinkfluencer or a thought leader, influential thought leader, there is going to be an element of coaching and consulting. But that doesn't mean that you yourself need to build a coaching or consulting company, right? Some of you may do well. Like if I want to build, I am building a high level advice company where I jokingly say I sell water, wisdom advice training for exceptional results. I got that from Bishop Wayne Malcolm. So I want to do that. That's in me to do that. It may be more beneficial for you to come join with me and be one of my coaches or consultant while you're building your empire elsewhere and you're just doing this like on the side. So just open up that way. It doesn't make you less of a person, but maybe you're meant to go ahead and do this whole real estate, be this real estate guru, right? But you still want to, I may have some people who may need coaching and you're still good at a certain area. And then that's what you do to get some additional income and, so things like that. All right, so the one way to do that is thinking about different platforms and activities. So content creation for influence and revenue. So I have writing books or creating blogs to establish your thought leadership, producing educational video series or podcasts for specific audiences, or designing e-courses and webinars to teach specialized skills. Some people, you may just be a content creator without doing all the other things. There are people who are killing it on YouTube and all the other platforms, and that's all they do. They may just do content. They may not have an email list, which everyone should have an email list if you're going to be this, if you're going to amplify your authority. But their focus is not on all the things that we see in quote unquote entrepreneurship. It could just be that. It could be creating courses when you for people to get on like little small things. You'll be surprised. So don't just be bogged down into I got to get my clients or I got to go get these corporate contracts. That's part of it, but maybe that's not for you. Maybe it is for you to really create content. And imagine this, if you were just a content creator, and I'm not saying just to downplay it, but what if you use all that energy outside of doing those other things and you focus on building multiple platforms, building multiple channels? You'll be surprised at what could come through, and maybe that's where you amplify your authority, right? Or you could be an industry leadership and advocacy. So becoming the go-to expert in your field through research, public speaking, and publishing. That's the professor side that I wish I would have leaned more into, because we had to do a lot of that. Go out there and speak. And we jokingly say we doing all this for lines on the Vita, right? And is really about publishing or perishing. And the goal was, especially if you were on tenure track, and you don't have to be on tenure track, but mostly for tenure track, you needed to be that person, that go-to person in your field. Like if I would have continued on my line of research with my dissertation, it was to be the go-to expert on STEM leadership and observations and feedback, and really building a STEM leader from science, technology, engineering, mathematics in the school system from the K-12 level to the university level, right? I just shifted a little bit, but that's really what I would have dove down into. So everything that I wrote about, every conference that I attended, every video that I made, if I was doing videos, everything I did would have been that laser focus. So I would have been the go-to expert. And some of you, that's probably where you need to be. You're in these high-level positions in your careers, or you may have this background into something and that you've never tapped into that. You may need to go to trade shows and conferences and be that person. Whenever you watch the news, that they will have experts come in, or if you watch any like crime shows or things like that, they will have experts come in. How do you think they found those experts? They either wrote books, blogs, articles. They saw them speaking somewhere and they were invited in. So maybe that's where your focus needs to be. Building digital ecosystems, which is again developing a platform, whether it's your website, YouTube channel, or some type of online community to serve as a hub for your work. So this is a little different from being just the content creator for influence and revenue. This is for you to say, I'm building all of these people on whatever platform I'm doing so I can have a community. There's one lady, I can't think of her name. I think her first name is Rachel, and she's on Instagram, and she was a writer. And I remember her I came across her in 2020, and she was just, I think she was creative writing somewhere. She wanted to work at a university. They had some falling out, so she started doing it online on Instagram and helping people write. She was showing how to grade papers or grade short stories, and she was doing it all on Instagram. And she created this massive following. I think she has over 1 million followers now. To where and people were, and then she, of course, if you want to work more with her, you can sign up for a course. But she would have like summer school, intensive writing camps, and things like that. So she took what she was going to do at in the university and she put it on the platform and created a hub. So she built a digital ecosystem for writing. And then I forgot what else she does. I think her first name is Rachel, but a lot of people do that. And now this is where if you want to get into corporate partnerships and training. Now some of you are meant to be consultants and know that there's a difference between coaching and consulting. I like the blend of coach-sultant because I think that's more powerful. But hey, sometimes you just need to say, hey, tell me where the X is, right? And so you're offering training programs for companies looking to upskill their team. That's one version of being consulting. And that's when you hear a lot of people say, go for corporate contracts and then, go train their people. That's one way. But did you also know that you can license your intellectual property? See, I'm trying to help you expand, right? And have more ambitious goals. I had a business coach tell me this when I was working on my dissertation and I was trying to figure out she didn't know about my dissertation, but I was going on that angle to build my consulting business. And she talked to me about licensing a part of that. But me, in my mind, my limiting and outdated, these were limiting beliefs. They weren't even outdated. Me and my limiting beliefs about what was possible, I didn't pursue that. And I'm not going back, right? But even with you, there's something that you've done. This is where skills come in, and this is why you need structure and support to help you understand what do you actually have in your intellectual property that can be put into a structure framework that can be sold as a package or a licensing software or a framework, and then providing expert insights as a retained advisor. Similar to what I was saying about the experts like you see on the news that are coming in, or people in a lot of trials do this where they bring in an expert to testify on their behalf and things like that. And then the last one is product development and innovation, creating tools, software, or resources that solve industry problems. Some of you are out here trying to be coaches, and you need to expand your thinking because you have some tools or software that you can actually create. And this is the time now to really get into that game. And then use your expertise to develop tangible or digital products like workbooks, templates, or apps. Back in the day, my major professor, and I don't think we understand really what it means to expand, right? And use our digital e-suite of education experience and expertise. My main advisor back in the day, she wrote textbooks for the school district for the state of Florida. She wrote textbooks. And when you think about it, because you see these names, these are regular people, right? And even before I knew who she was, I would see her name when I was teaching, never really thought much about it, thought these were just I don't know what I thought. And then when I went to go get my doctorate, met her, and really understood what that meant, I said, you're the one, and you know what that contract looks like. I'm not gonna tell you, but she wrote textbooks for the entire state of Florida for every county in the state at every school who adopted that textbook. Because once it's adopted, that means the whole multiple counties, multiple schools use that textbook. You could be that person. You could do that with apps or templates or anything like that. Just open up your mind and consider that. Another thing is public impact and legacy work, using your platform to inspire broader cultural or social change. Candace Owen is a great example. Hater or lover, but she's one that's doing that, right? Her expertise, I think her background was journalism or something like that, and she's expanded this into this massive brand. And it's not just being a coach or a consultant, right? Establishing nonprofits or philanthropic initiatives or community programs, becoming a mentor, role model, or emerging talent in your industry. There's so much you can do outside of just being a culture consultant on how you can amplify your authority. And it starts with what I suggest, the STEAM framework, with your skill station, your transformation, your expansion, ambition, and your monetization. And then, of course, we're talking about your personalized blueprint that's similar to what this persona is. When you go and take a deeper dive with me, we go into these different tiers for you to kind of get an idea and to create your own roadmap and blueprint. This is an issue that I learned from myself and from working with other people. It's like, okay, you're telling me to build this business, you're telling me that I need to get clients or whatever the case, but no one's telling me the thing behind the thing. No one's telling me that, okay, just because you start a business, then there are other skills you need to do. No one's telling me that I need to work on myself. No one's telling me that everything that I'm working on needs to be aligned into the bigger vision for myself. Like some of these things, the examples that I gave you, you know which ones align with what your bigger vision is. But if you don't understand your bigger vision, then you're just going to be doing all the things haphazardly, and then you're going to be burned out, frustrated, overwhelmed, and say, oh, coaching is a scam. All of this is a scam. This is not for me. I should just go back to work and things like that. Some of you are running away from your jobs, and you are supposed to be on your job, but you're supposed to be using this framework and amplifying your authority within that. I'm gonna be honest. When I was a college professor, I didn't want to just quit. You know, it was the environment. I love being a college professor. Once I accepted being a college professor, I loved all of the things that went with it. And I was able to do some amazing work as an intrapreneur, still doing consulting, still getting contracts with grants, still speaking, still writing, all of those things. And for some of you, you may need to be there so you can be that go-to expert to amplify your authority while you are right there. Some of you are trying to jump ship before you build it, and some of you are trying to get on ships when you're not supposed to to be there. All right. So these are just some of the things. Again, this is the framework. Again, skillsation, transformation, expansion, ambition, and monetization. You will answer questions, and then you can rate yourself, and then you can go forth and conquer, or you can stay connected with me, or you can go ahead and let me see if I have it on here. I think I do. Different ways on your next steps on what you can do. I do have that on here. So one way, I'm not going to name them all because they may change, but there are different ways that you can stay with me in the community, or you can connect with me on social media platforms, or the best way is to attend upcoming workshops so that you can get not so much one-on-one, but personalized, direct interaction outside of you just watching a screen or reading something. Because I attended a few trainings, and people are like, oh my gosh, somebody's pitching me, or they're going to sell me something. No one's selling you anything. They're inviting you for an invitation to go higher, because truth be told, a lot of stuff that you're learning is free on the internet. You can just Google search how to start a business, how to, be a thought leader. You can Google all of that, right? But what's missing is structure, support, direct feedback, accountability, and someone to call you higher into your next, and a unique perspective, right? So AI is not going to give you a unique perspective all the time, or in the moment things, or really help you with your mindset. And it's really about saving time. Like, you can go Google your life out, you can go watch a whole bunch of free things, right, and still be in the same place. So if you don't take a deeper dive into an extended program that I have, then at least attend the upcoming workshops and you'll see some different dates with that, or just stay connected and join me on lives, right? Or when you see the invitation to join the Zoom room, get on that so you can answer questions, because I do really want to help you, whether you want to stay working with me directly or go somewhere else. This is why I'm doing this training. This is why I wanted to give you at least a brief version of the assessment so that you can take it and understand where you are. So when it's time for you to invest in another coach or program or, strategy, you're not just closing your eyes and throwing it and hoping you land on the target. All right. And so that is what I have for you. Again, if you want this extended version, sign up and register for the workshop. But if you have the brief version and that is all for you, I still want to know your thoughts. Tell me your scores, message me, tag me, let me know how I can continue to support you on your way, because we really do need you to amplify your authority, because no one else can share what you have to offer for this world. And please join the mission of bankrupting 1 billion burial plots so that we can help brilliant people like yourself and others live a life poured out above ground before all of their brilliance goes underground. All right, so thank you so much for listening and learning with me. I am coming back on screen, hopefully. All right, so thank you all, and let me know your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you all on the other side. Go amplify your authority.